What if ancient Egypt became the modern world's superpower? In this world, where Egypt never crumbled beneath foreign conquest and instead evolved into the globe's beating heart, technology and faith walk hand in hand. Here, progress does not mean forgetting the past. It means building upon it. Before we start, consider to leave a like on this video and subscribe to our channel. And let us know in the comments where you are watching from. It's amazing to see where everybody is coming from. Now let's get started. While the rest of the modern world discovered the internet through trial and error, ancient Egypt's superpower timeline brought it about through intentional design based on a principle older than Wi-Fi or fiber optics: flow. Egyptians had always worshipped the flow of the Nile. In this version of history, their understanding of flow expands into energy, data, even time itself. As early as the 19th century, this Egypt embraced solar power not as a green alternative, but as a sacred gift. In the 21st century, their cities are built around massive Helios arrays, mirror pyramids that collect solar energy and distribute it in a perfect rhythm, guided by algorithms rooted in ancient numerology and sacred geometry. Their tech is elegant, symmetrical. Servers are cooled not in basements, but through aqueduct-coated logic farms where the principles of ancient irrigation meet cloud computing. Every technological advance is paired with a cultural ritual. New operating systems are blessed in temple halls. Digital devices are named after gods: Thothos, Bastet Cloud, Horus Vision. Artificial intelligence is not feared here, but taught ethics through stories older than Plato. In fact, the leading AI in this world, Ma'at 7, was not just built to calculate or predict, but to understand balance, truth, and justice. Religion is infrastructure, not obstacle. Now pause. You might expect that a society so anchored in ancient faith would resist modern science. But here's the twist: they never saw a conflict. In our world, faith and science often stand on opposite ends of a debate stage. But in this Egypt, spirituality is not a wall, it's a foundation. Temples are built with biometric entry points. Prayers are archived in decentralized, sacred data ledgers. The belief is that the divine is not separate from reality, but encoded into it. Physics becomes a sacred study. Mathematics, a form of worship. Astronomy, a direct conversation with the gods. And most remarkably, ethics is not left to corporate guidelines. It is integrated into everything via Ma'at, the ever-present principle of equilibrium. It is embedded in urban planning, AI decision trees, and even in sentencing law. Justice here is not retributive. It is restorative. Every sentence includes community reconciliation. Every prison is a school in disguise. A multicultural civilization that feels ancient and new. So how did Egypt, rooted so deeply in its own traditions, become a home for others? The answer lies in how they viewed identity. In this alternate history, Egypt didn't expand by conquest. It expanded by invitation. They welcomed travelers, artisans, scholars, and merchants, not to change them, but to learn from them. A Greek dialect still lives in Alexandria. West African drumming circles animate the markets of Giza. Buddhist monks advise on AI calmness algorithms in temples dedicated to Ta. Global religions weren't silenced, they were harmonized. There is no conflict between Islam and ancient Egyptian practice because in this world, syncretism, the blending of belief systems, is a national virtue. Even holidays are layered. The Festival of Lights in Luxor coincides with Diwali and Hanukkah. Every full moon is marked with a different culture's story. Have you ever stared into the horizon where desert meets sky and wondered, what if the sands of time had shifted just a little differently? What if the greatest empire of the ancient world had never faded beneath the dunes? What if ancient Egypt, not Rome, not Britain, not America, had become the ultimate superpower of the modern age? Close your eyes, take a breath, and imagine a world where the sun still rises for Ra. Where hieroglyphs are carved not just on temple walls, but coded into skyscrapers. Where the Nile flows not through ruins, but through a capital that commands the globe. This is not history. This is not fantasy. This is a dream of what might have been. To rewrite this future, we must find the right thread in time to pull. Let's travel back to 332 BCE when Alexander the Great marches into Egypt and founds the city of Alexandria. In our timeline, this moment marks the beginning of foreign rule and the eventual decline of native Egyptian power. But in this what-if, the story changes. Imagine instead that Egypt resists. The priesthoods of Thebes and Memphis, sensing the winds of conquest, unite their temples, resources, and knowledge. They form a confederation, not unlike the early Roman Senate, built not on expansion, but on preservation. They open Egypt's doors selectively, welcoming trade, science, and diplomacy, but never surrendering their sovereignty. And most crucially, they embrace innovation. In our world, ancient Egypt was famously stable. Too stable, some say, resistant to change. But in this alternate strand of history, that changes. They begin to adapt, an empire of adaptation. By the 1st century BCE, this renewed Egypt is no longer isolated. They have absorbed the Greek sciences brought by traders, adapted Roman engineering concepts, and even established academic exchange with early Indian mathematicians. Hieroglyphs are slowly modernized, becoming a hybrid written language that resembles both code and calligraphy. Think, a script as beautiful as Japanese kanji, as systematic as Latin, and as precise as programming language. Instead of being colonized, Egypt becomes the one inviting the world in on its own terms. By the 5th century CE, as Rome crumbles under its own weight, Egypt surges forward. They've harnessed the waters of the Nile with an advanced canal system that anticipates hydroelectric power. They preserve and expand the Library of Alexandria into a continent-wide research network. And they establish a political philosophy based not on divine kingship alone, but on Ma'at, the ancient concept of truth, balance, and justice. In this timeline, Ma'at becomes the foundation of a bureaucratic superstructure that rivals modern democracies in complexity and surpasses them in spiritual depth. Now fast forward to today. You open your window in Cairo, not a dusty relic of the past, but the glowing capital of a futuristic global civilization. The skyline is pyramidal, glass ziggurats reach skyward like crystal obelisks. Solar panels line the desert, tracing the sun's path as reverently as their ancestors once did with obelisks. The global language? A modernized Egyptian dialect. The global currency? Debins, stabilized by a gold standard system rooted in the ancient treasury of Karnak. The new Library of Alexandria, now a megastructure orbiting the Earth, accessible via Egypt's space elevator. And still, they remember. Children still learn the story of Isis and Osiris. Still wear amulets of Anubis for protection. But now those myths are taught alongside quantum mechanics and AI ethics. Temples double as data sanctuaries. Priests are coders. Philosophers guide AI algorithms by principles of Ma'at. And still, the Nile flows. Calm, eternal, unwavering. Children in school recite verses from the pyramid texts alongside Maya cosmology and Sufi poetry. The borders are symbols, not walls. And so, modern Egypt's borders are more conceptual than physical. Their influence spreads through infrastructure projects across continents. A Pan-African solar grid managed from Nubian engineering academies. An underwater transit loop connecting North Africa to Southern Europe via bioengineered coral tubes. Floating temples that act as embassies and environmental research stations sailing the oceans in the name of peace and balance. In this timeline, colonialism never took root because Egypt modeled a different kind of power, cultural gravity instead of imperial control. Nations voluntarily aligned themselves with Egypt's vision, not through fear, but through admiration. And yet, it still feels familiar. Despite the innovations, there is something comfortingly human about this world. Street vendors still roast sweet dates over charcoal. Old men still debate loudly under sycamore trees. Scribes still write in golden ink even if their papyrus is now a digital tablet. And when night falls, you can still hear someone telling a story of Osiris and his journey through the underworld, only now it's a bedtime story about finding balance in a world of infinite data. In this world, where Egypt never collapsed, never gave up its throne to time or empire, life feels both elevated and grounded. Like walking through a dream that learned how to stand still. Here, everyday existence is rich with meaning. But what does that taste like? What does it feel like to walk through such a civilization? Let's explore. In this Egypt-turned superpower, cuisine is more than sustenance, it's a sacred act of memory. In kitchens across this vast land, ingredients are chosen not just for flavor, but for symbolism. Honey is offered at breakfast not only for its sweetness, but because it represents continuity, the bees that worked yesterday to feed tomorrow. Lentils and leeks, staples since the days of the pharaohs, are given modern expression, roasted over smart fires that cook based on personalized biometric rhythms. Lotus root dumplings, shaped like ankhs, are served during moments of celebration. Every dish is a story. Every meal is a ceremony. In homes and street markets, you'll find a culinary tapestry shaped by centuries of cultural openness. Ethiopian injera fused with Egyptian stews. Mediterranean olive oil traded from floating sea bazaars. Northern African spices layered into ice cream that chills itself through ambient solar cooling. And in every city square, a low, slow rhythm of street food vendors and open-air kitchens. Not for tourists, for everyone. Because here, food is never fast. It's shared. What would people wear in a world where Egypt became modernity itself? The answer: beauty rooted in function, elegance sculpted into daily life. Clothing in this Egypt follows one golden rule: everything is designed to balance form, spirit, and environment. The traditional shendit? It's now an adaptive fabric that regulates body temperature using solar threads. The iconic linen tunics? They shift colors slightly depending on the wearer's mood and hydration, part fashion, part well-being monitor. Gold still features, but not for wealth signaling. It's woven lightly into ceremonial fabrics as a conductive metal, helping store and transmit bioenergy in moments of meditation or collective ritual. There is no fast fashion here, only eternal aesthetics. Designers are called fabricators of light because they work not just with textiles but with coated fiber, making every robe or dress a blend of history, utility, and personal expression. And in every garment, there's a story, hieroglyphs embroidered not for display but for protection. Your clothes remember your ancestors. Often rigid, identity is about borders, birth, and bureaucracy. But in this Egypt, citizenship is philosophical. To be Egyptian here is not to be born in the land. It is to embrace Ma'at, the principle of harmony, justice, and cosmic balance. Every citizen carries a personal scroll, digital, yes, but sacred. It contains their life goals, their contributions to society, their reflections on balance and disharmony. Each scroll is reviewed every solar year, not by a government clerk, but by a council of elders and dreamers. Citizenship is alive, nurtured through mentorship, dialogue, and ritual. There are no immigrants in this world, only incoming dreamers. And every dreamer brings something that shapes the ever-growing identity of Egypt. Education, art, and the immortal now. Children begin their education not in a classroom, but in a garden of symbols. From age 5, they learn to write not only in letters, but in metaphors. They study not only what is, but what might have been. Critical thinking is taught through historical games, empathy through ritual storytelling, engineering through sandcastle systems that mimic ancient dam structures. And the arts? They are central, not peripheral. Every citizen paints. Every citizen sings. Every citizen sculpts with clay or data or ideas. The pyramids of this era are living museums, augmented spaces that show the past, present, and future in a single immersive panorama. And every Friday, the cities fall quiet for a brief national ritual, the listening. For 20 minutes, all networks pause. Citizens step outside and listen to a soundscape composed from prayers, wind across the desert, and voices of storytellers from all corners of the globe. It is a society where art is not decoration. It is navigation. Egypt's influence in this world doesn't feel like dominance. It feels like rhythm. Countries all over the world follow the Egyptian calendar, which balances lunar and solar cycles in perfect harmony. Their cities adopt pyramid zoning, buildings that rise not for ego, but for equilibrium with the wind and sun. Languages don't die in this world. They are archived and revived as living dialects. And Earth's first base on Mars is called New Thebes. It is built with the help of solar bricks and powered by Egyptian AI, infused with stories to maintain the crew's emotional well-being. Even space here isn't empty. It is sacred, and still feels like home. Despite the scale, despite the magic, despite the utopian shimmer, this Egypt still feels human. People argue in cafes. Lovers write poems on public walls. Children run barefoot across gold-tinted sidewalks, chasing kite drones shaped like ibis birds. And when night falls, there is always someone, somewhere, telling a story. What if we had never fallen? What if the empire built on the Nile had lasted not just a few centuries, but forever? What would it feel like to live in a world where dreaming and building are the same thing? Well, now you know. This has been another journey into a world that never was, but could have been. Keep on dreaming with us. See you next time on What If Worlds Were Different?